Hey, welcome to Grit Culture. Now we're gonna do a different format on this one. Normally when I want to show you the video, I'll give you the disclaimer or whatever, and then I'll show you the video and give you my take afterwards. But this time I'll give you my take on everything, and then I'll post all the video afterwards because it's a lengthy video. I'll explain everything in the commentary. Before I get it started, please like, share, subscribe. Let's get into it. So we got Karen Garner out of Loveland, Colorado. Situation is she's suffering from dementia. Old lady, 73 years old. She goes to Walmart and forgets to pay for her items. And simply walks out. When confronted by the store clerk, confronted by the loss prevention, they take her back in and they try to get her to pay for her items, but I guess comes to a point where she's just like she doesn't want to do it, and she'll just keep it pushing, decides to go home. Well, by that point the police have already been contacted. And so they see her, sad that, she doesn't have a mode of transportation. They find her, she's walking on the side of the road on her way back home. And the police engage with her. Now, what you'll see in this video, it's pretty ridiculous because the police doesn't identify the situation, doesn't identify the person that he's dealing with. Clearly see it's a frail old woman. She clearly, shown from the body cam footage, that she's disoriented and, really doesn't, she's in a whole nother, her mind's out to lunch. And he decides to, use excessive force just immediately when she's not complying with his commands. Takes her, bends her arm, throws her to the ground. He's even bending her arm, I forget which part, but it was stated in the video after, and then we'll explain that video after, but there was a supposed pop within the video at the point where her arm breaks. You'll see what I'm talking about. But it's complete, abuse of power. Bad police training, abuse of power, just bad assessment, all in all. Even the response to it, and then there's a video afterwards to where they're talking about it in the police headquarters, and the cops are just basically joking about it. It's all a big joke. They even fist bump each other. What female cop that's with them almost seems as if she's trying to, when you listen to her speak, it's almost as if she is trying to get in their good graces to show that she's part of the team, instead of exercising the proper judgment and having good morals. She wants to show that she's in cahoots and down with whatever they got going on, and trying to explain herself to why she wasn't. I don't know. You'll see it all. But what I want to talk about, the main thing I want to explain, is how things like this get ignored on a day-by-day basis. So much police brutality going on around the country, and the bad thing is it's being played. The racial aspect of it is being used to divide the country. Now, race does come into play, and I believe black people do get, because you're dealing with people who don't come from your community, they have less sensitivity. And you have a lot of racists within the justice system too. But it takes a lot, like I've always said, it takes a lot to even identify or even arrive at that point. And you can't just jump into race every single time, right? And say it was racially motivated. Just like the Derek Chauvin. It's bad policing, but you can't say it was racially motivated. Now it could have been, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot that to even prove that. You have to have, evidence of stuff like that. Now, that's not to say that black people aren't justified in their response to these different things, because when you have something and you have a history like ours, as ours in America, when you have that type of history, and like I always say, you talk about even, because you got people who try to dismiss it and say they're just being misled when there's plenty of history to show it. But let's say they're just being misled and misinformed or whatever. They're being taught these things. It's still, in that case, there would still be, the information is being implanted in them and they're still being shown that they've been victimized for years. So that does something on the consciousness of people. And so there's going to be a high level of sensitivity anytime there's a engagement between police and black people. And there should be. There has to be, right? This stuff happens in every community. But what you happen every single time, you start getting, a lot of pushback. And, like I said, you have to stay, just like, you talk about the Ma'Khia, what's her name? Ma'Khia Bryant situation. Just bring the facts, but all the condescending nature of a lot of conversations that you see with a lot of white people a lot of time. It's condescending and it's not necessary, and it's insensitive to what black people have been through in this country, or the optics of what they've seen. Right? So you got to understand that. So there has to be a sensitivity, and when you come back with stuff like it happens here too, and we're all, we're experiencing that too. Here's the thing. That's a very, very true statement. Very, very true statement. But are you raising hell about it? Are you getting out in the streets and raising hell when you see this? Where is the outrage for this lady? Forget her last name. First name Karen. Sorry about that. But where's the outrage for her? You need to be out in the streets. If you're not, you're showing that within your community, and everybody should be out there. It should be a coordinated effort for all, even activist groups, even black activist groups, because you have to show, there has to be a unified effort to show the police that you're not playing, no matter who it was, who it is. So when you start to do that, then you can start moving as a unit and start to galvanize a lot more people. But when you separate people based on race, it leaves division. That's just naturally how it's going to happen. But like I said, same way, the people within that particular community, they have to raise hell, and they have to put it to the forefront. And this, we're just even in this situation, we're talking about a person who, didn't die. But let's talk about it. We're talking about, just brutality, abuses of power, then even death. It happens to black people, black, white people. It happens to us all. But then let's even talk about the deaths by police hands. Now, they put up a graph, I believe Fox News did, and it showed that just this year there's been 109, and I could be wrong, but I believe from the graph it went viral. Showed that 109 white people have been killed by the police versus 52 black people. Now, of course, it's a true statement that more white people get killed by the police than black people. But now you have to deal with proportion. And this, I talk about this even with a lot of all type of situations, even situations that you have black people bring up stats. You have to bring up proportion. You have to bring up, proportionate to the population. We only make up 13 to 18% of the population, whereas whites make up close to 60% of the population, right? So when you take that in account, out of 109 out of 161, it's about 67%, which is a little bit elevated over the population of people versus 32%, which would be that 52. Should be that 52 black people that have been murdered by police this year, right? And so there's a lot of different things that may go into, that may go, go into that. According to FBI statistics, this is according by FBI statistics, and the one that gets brought up over and over again is the, black people accounting for 50% of the crimes that are recorded, despite our population, right? And like I said, and that's not to say black people are bad people or anything. See, when a lot of stuff, you can't deny a history and what we've been through. It hasn't always been like this. But when you have people trying to put their foot on your neck and trying to intervene in your everyday affairs and trying to shut down everything in a proven coerced attack upon people, simply because the color of their skin, main objective is to keep people at the bottom caste so their system can work. There has to be a bottom caste. There has to be a bottom, for their whole Ponzi scheme, for the whole money system to work. That's how it has to work. And so black people are the chosen ones for that within, the American system. So that's where that comes from. That's why there's high crime in our communities. Influence, stuff that we put on television. And then finding people who are, in destitute positions and, Hollywood and these record execs and all type of stuff. They'll offer those people to be the role models for our youth. It's not just that black and white. There's a lot of just all type of different factors that factor into it. So it's to understand that. But so engagement with police brings those numbers up also, right? When you're talking about, the 52 who have been killed. But even with that, black people get a lot of, the engagement with police and the way that they're taken advantage of, because these cities, these officers, they're going to deal with people most of the time that don't have, the defense. They don't have, something like, the money to be able to afford a lawyer and different things like that. Whereas rich people are going to have that. And black people, as far as, median and average income, we rank at the bottom here in America. Rank at the bottom. And I'm just speaking in a general sense, and, I'm saying we, you know what I mean. So all of these things factor in. There's just a whole sensitivity to the whole thing. So you just got to understand these things when we're throwing out these numbers and we're being condescending to each other. But also we have to take the news into our own hands. We have to take the news into our own hands. There's so many, even with all the stuff that they show, there's a lot of black people that they don't show. Especially, they tend to only they want you to show the dead person, but they don't show you the different people who have lived, like the guy in Sacramento who they kicked in his back. And come to find out it was the wrong man, but he's sitting up there asking questions and they kick him in his back and then find out it's the wrong man, but the officers don't face any penalties because the law within Sacramento is if there's no substantial bodily harm, the police aren't held liable. Like, what the fuck is that? So those are things that need to be changed. Those are issues that need to be pressed. And there's a must, you have to press those issues because we're talking about prevention from it even getting to the point to where somebody ends up killed. Whether black or white, whatever, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. We get into all these identity politics and, always talking about race instead of focusing on the issue. Is what the officer doing, is it even justified? Is it a justified manner? Put yourself in the position. Other stuff, when you start talking about, is he racist or anything like that and stuff like that, that can be found later on. You have to have more information. But like I said, even though there still has to be a level of empathy for people that have those feelings, when dealing with police. Because like I said, I just keep saying it. There's history here. You can't deny the history. There's plenty of history. What you got to do is bring your facts too. And not just bring the facts and not doing it in a condescending way, but now you have to say something. You have to say something. And that's for white people. You can't be quiet when you're having police brutality, people getting killed. You have to be out there in the streets. You got to be at your city councils. You got to raise hell. And then on top of that, when you see it somewhere else, you have to raise hell. Not raise hell, you know what I mean. You have to bring attention to it all. So that's all I got on this. That's all I got on this. It's an unfortunate situation what happened to this lady. Filing a lawsuit. Hopefully, it goes well for her because they did her wrong. Like I said, this won't get put on CNN and MSNBC or anything because it doesn't fit a narrative. It won't go viral. It won't be a viral video shared on social media because it doesn't fit a narrative. But we got to take the different narratives and take it into our own hands. If we're not doing our homework, if we're not going out of our way to make sure that the light is brought to these different things, nothing will change. And you'll allow the media to do their own thing. So I'll play the video afterwards. Like I said, like, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all later. Here y'all go.
All right, let's stop, ma'am.
At 4:37 in the afternoon,
I don't think you want to play it this way.
On June 26th of last year,
Police, stop.
Loveland officer Austin Hopp confronts a woman walking on the side of the road.
You don't want to stop, lights on, siren, stop.
73-year-old Karen Garner had just left Walmart where employees called police saying she tried to shoplift.
You just left Walmart.
Her lawyer says she was confused.
You need to be arrested right now?
She suffers from dementia. Okay. She was picking flowers on her way home.
Come on.
I'm going home.
All of this happened within 1 minute of Officer Hopp stopping his patrol car.
No, on the ground. Stay on the ground.
I'm going home.
On the ground. And if you try to kick me, this is going to be bad.
3 minutes later, at 4:39.
Stop.
I'm going home.
Officer Daria Jalali arrives, and according to the lawsuit, Gardner's shoulder gets dislocated.
Quit!
After about 5 minutes of struggle, Garner saying the same phrase over and over.
Yeah, we're good.
4:44. Sergeant Philip Metzler arrives, asking the officers if they're okay. They put Garner into the patrol car around 4:45. Then the officers brief Sergeant Metzler about what had unfolded over the last 10 minutes.
Well, she been drinking or something? Or? I have no idea. She hasn't talked to me much.
They drive to the police station.
You guys grab her arms?
Yep.
Get there around 5:01.
Ouch.
That's okay. We got
I was going to pay for it.
But you didn't.
That would be the phrase she would begin repeating as she sat, hands behind her back, handcuffed to a bench. The lawsuit alleges she went without mental health support or medical attention in the 6 hours that she was in police custody. A fractured and dislocated shoulder, bloody nose, contusions on her knees. When police eventually dropped her off at the jail around 8:00 p.m., they wrote in transport paperwork that she didn't have any injuries or illness. Eventually, a deputy realized she was hurt and took her to the hospital at 10:38 at night. Her family's lawyer filed the lawsuit on Wednesday, nearly a year later.
This is so unacceptable and so uncivilized that it makes me feel ashamed that somehow we got here as a society.
Liz Kotelik, 9 News.
You think she's born in 46? She's ancient.
She told us.
She's 73. Yeah, I'm a little worried that it's like senile stuff versus. Stupid question, but I gotta ask. Do you read Miranda? Nope.
How do you think that went?
Well, that would be crazy.
You do?
Did you know? Apparently you did not.
No, I did.
I thought we were pretty deep with the question.
But every time I would try to jump in, like I got pushed off to the side, so I don't want you to think that I'm not acting.
I didn't think you were. I thought you were right in there the whole thing. Did I push you off to the side? I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to attention. Oh, there's. I was trying to fit in.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
I just don't want you to think I was not playing.
You were definitely playing. You're a lot of help with you. She's just very flexible and very. She's very calm. I had her pink scar when we first got there. And I was like, okay, you're gonna play. I was pushing her. I was like,
That's what you're gonna turn in.
please, you're a 73-year-old woman on the ground.
Hmm?
I can't believe I threw a 73-year-old woman on the ground. That dude was yelling at me. I'm like, I feel you, buddy. I feel you. I don't do that anyway, but I didn't care. I don't know. And I was like, hey, you know what?
Meanwhile, I'm still fighting.
I know, I thought you were done.
No!
We closed the doors and you were still there. I was like, looking over like,
We didn't close the door.
I closed my door. We had her in the car.
You closed your door, but she still wasn't in on my side.
Oh, I told her. I'm sorry to anger you.
That's okay. That's why I called for another unit. I was like, hello?
I don't want this guy to act a fool and start jumping in. All in all, is that blue teamable?
Because didn't your boss say we'll talk later?
No.
I thought you heard.
No, he said, let me know when you're ready for the app later.
On Steve, didn't you say we'll talk about it later?
Oh, well, regardless, blue team or not, I use force. So if absolutely necessary, can I use your hobble? Doesn't happen. Of course. The first time I got using it, I was very excited. I was like, I was super excited. What happened when you got off stage? You was like, short start motion to stage. Yeah, we talked for a little bit. But it's just so little, I was like, I'm going to say, hey, I'm fighting, have everyone in the city run code and brainstorm. Yeah. I was like, I'm fine, I can handle it. I mean, dogs. So, I was like, alright, let's wrestle, girl. Let's wrestle. Right on the ground, all that stuff. Got her cuffed up. That was eerie. And I had her get the GoPro. She showed up, and her, like, the cuff was like here on her hand. I'm like, oh. She spit on you, Nothing like that. She didn't want to come with us. They used to force the fact that, like, control and stuff. Threw her on the ground a couple times.
It's like live TV.
The body cam show.
Body cams are my favorite thing to watch. I can watch live TV body cams all day.
So I'm like, I'm here.
I didn't know. You don't know.
What? Are you finished? Ready? Wrestle for me. What?
I hate this.
This is great.
I hate watching action. I hate it.
I love it.
I hate it.
You good?
You sometimes got the way. I would say this is way too noble. Take some action that results in or is alleged to have resulted in injury or
Take
death.
pictures of us and stuff.
And she's fleeing.
Well, why don't we,
I don't know.
we go to take her out?